Hello, this is Chris Goldthorpe with another edition of ChrisChess.com, going over an amateur level game, which is useful. If you only go over master games, you miss a lot of opportunities to learn how you might take advantage of the kind of mistakes the players at your level are going to make. So we do need to look at a lot of games at your own level. This game turned into sort of a King's Indian, and here we go. And when white plays this way, maybe he's going to go into a Tory attack. He's not necessarily going to play c4, so he also could be aiming for a London system here. And there's nothing wrong with some other moves that black can make here. However, the King's Indian formation is something black can do against e4 or d4 at any time. So it's very flexible. Okay, white is turning this into a King's Indian, and the good part for white about the King's Indian is he can take a lot of space in the center. He should be able to get e4 in, and that's the reason why we normally see the Queen's Knight out first. But there's nothing wrong with what either player has done at this point. This is not really going to turn this into a useful Trompowsky or a London system or a Tory attack, because the knight is not pinned, and we've got the fianchetto already for black. Now this is probably a little bit too passive for white, so I wouldn't expect this to leave black better off during the game. However, according to the computer, black is already slightly better. And so castles, and we have some pretty normal development. This move, although not optimal according to the computer is suggesting the c5 move here. But black has a method for playing, so it's good enough for them to stick to their method as long as it doesn't result in any problem. Black is developing pieces, and white probably should have played knight to c3 instead. There's not a whole lot of additional advantage to bringing both knights over to one side with these pawns in this formation. So surprisingly, that one move turns it from slightly better for white into slightly better for black. I don't think either of these players really should be expected to know that, and it wouldn't be valuable for them to. The real things that happen to make one or the other player win have not happened yet. And white reacts consistently with the e5 move. And of course, black wants to keep a pawn in the center. This might be counterintuitive to some beginners because it blocks the bishop. However, black wants to keep a pawn in the center and can almost always get a rook behind there. If nothing else, force white to move this pawn up and have some strong squares at f4 and d4. So now he takes here, and again, queen takes would be a little bit better, but there's no real significant difference here, especially since with the move that black played, he's winning already after 9 moves, where black would be doing well even to be just a little bit behind. And black keeps the bishop. So all of these moves, if we weren't looking at the computer engine running right now, We could imagine that this is a game between experts to masters. This is the first move that I think gives away the fact that white is not a super strong player. And the knight goes in here. Black probably should have been a little less hypnotized, because this knight with this knight here, this knight is threatening a fork here, and sometimes that'll draw our attention to one spot. However, black could just do this, and if the knight comes in here, then black will still get two pieces for the rook and a pawn, which, if we use the correct updated evaluation system, that really is a good thing for the player getting the two minor pieces, especially when they represent a significant part of his development. This also really gives this bishop a lot of power. So that's what could have happened. Instead, though, white did this move, which was almost as good and still leaves black significantly winning. Minus 1.2 should be pretty significant between players at a mid-class A level. Okay, white preserves the bishop and prevents the e4 pin. Of course, his bishop on c8 here guards against this fork at this point. And now the knight is kicked back, has no better place to go than back here. So a little foresight on white's point, on white's side here, would have gone a long way. Possibly white was too intent on expecting black to make moves which he knew were not good. So it's already significantly winning for black. Okay, attacking another pawn. This would be great if white takes, but not everybody's going to do what they know they shouldn't. So he goes here. Now he's ready to make another fork. So this knight gets moved. Actually, if black played g4, this knight would have to go all the way back to here. And these pawns have been very powerful. But when you push these pawns near your king, you always have to be careful about a retribution with a kingside attack. However, black's got pretty much every angle covered, and he's got his back rank and these strong pieces near his king, so he should be safe. e4 opens the diagonal for the king's bishop here on g7. And this move kind of retreats from the center. So at this point, really surprisingly, I would say, black is already very significantly winning. So black goes here, and there really is just no way to guard b2, which might not seem so significant except for the fact that the rook is trapped there. So black should get a queen, a rook, and a pawn for a queen and a bishop. Here, probably taking with the pawn would have been better. It's not so much the point of whether it's better or not. It's the thing to remember here is that black should consider it, because you're unlikely to get this exact position again, but you want to have generalized habits that are applicable in a wide range of real situations. Something else that black could think about here as well is to just push this pawn forward, making the knight move, and then this rook has to guard h4. So comes down here, And now with this move, white's in real trouble because a black rook to the d file is going to leave white in trouble. Threatening to win a piece with check, and now taking away, not just winning a pawn, but taking away these flight squares. So in order to get the knight unpinned, he'd have to walk away from the knight, which then of course allows black to win a whole piece there. And he's already up, according to the computer here, like 4. But I mean, for a human, we think at least a minor piece. It's clear, it should be clear to black that he's winning here. Should be able to start playing a little more quickly. And that looks like it's just attacking the h-pawn, but it's a rook lift so that he can double. And with this, really pretty much the game's over now. It's clear that black is going to totally win that knight. So if I'm the player of the white pieces, what I would be telling myself is don't expect your opponent to make the moves that you know he should not make. Especially when they're unforced. And watch out for checks and captures, because when you have a sequence of moves to calculate your way through, as long as there's another check or a capture, it should be considered. Now black could think the same way too, because he could have allowed that knight to go to e6, and the sequence of moves after that was all checks and captures, but it wasn't very long, and there weren't a lot of pieces moving, so that should not have been too difficult to foresee. So also the fact that this king never castled was a problem for white. So this is another game. And if you want to get yourself up to Class A or expert level, even if your rating right now is under 1,000, give me a call or go to chrischess.com. And please do subscribe and like this video, and you'll find out when other ones are coming. So until now, this is Chris with chrischess.com signing off. Till next time.